Good morning, sir. Good morning, everyone. So, I am Annie Rose Omambak. So, we were supposed to have an quick energizer before we will proceed to my topic, but unfortunately wala man ka face to face, so dili ra man sa nina ko iko anak kong energizer. So, my topic is all about instructional design models. So these are the learning objectives. So at the end of the lesson, the student should be able to identify the common features of the selected instructional design models and explain the importance of instructional design models in classroom instructions and value the distinct features of the selected instructional models. So what is instructional design models? An instructional design model provides guidelines to organize appropriate pedagogical scenarios to achieve instructional goals. Instructional design can be defined as the practice of creating instructional experiences to help facilitate learning most effectively. Instructional design models help you on how to conduct the various steps. These steps involve instructional design process. The models help trainers and educators to guide and plan the overall process. So kani si instructional design models kay mga process ni siya. So as we all know, ang process is naagi na sila yung mga steps. So dili ka ka-proceed sa next step kung wala ka ni agi sa usa ka step, di ba? So ingon ana sad si instructional design models. So kani si instructional design models, it helps that to have kana educational content that are well structured, engaging, and meet specific learning goals. Kani sila kay mura po ni sila mga blueprints or kanang guide sa mga educators aron makagama sila og mas effective nga learning experiences para sa ilahang mga students. So, let's proceed to the instructional design model. So, the first model is ADDIE model. So, the ADDIE model has been the most popular instructional model used. This model serves as a basis for the other models developed. It is an iterative instructional design process, which means that the end product of one phase is the starting product of the next phase. One will note that all the other models that followed share 5 essential phases, which are analysis, design, development, implementation, and evaluation. So as you can see in the picture that I attach, mao na siya ang cycle or ang process ni ADDIE model. So first is the analysis. So, in analysis, in this stage, the instructional designer identifies the learning needs, goals, and objectives. So, as a future educator, kung magamit ka ani nga model, you analyze the kanang learning styles or learning styles sa imong mga students, ilang level of intelligence, as well as kanang unsa ilahang motivation ug asa na sa ilahang skills aron nga dili magbalik-balik ang mga knowledge nga matudlo bitaw nimo kay what if kanang imuha untang plano nga itudlo is nahuman nagtudlo sa ilahang previous nga kanang years. So kailangan nga hibaw ka mo analyze sa ilahang nga kuan aron maka-develop ka goals para sa mga topic na wala pa na-explore sa imong mga students. Next stage is design. So designing the learning experience is the next step. It involves creating a detailed plan for the instructional materials, activities, and assessments. The designer outlines the course structure and content. So kani si design mao na ni siya ang kanang mag-decide ka kung unsay flow sa imuhang kanang instruction in kanang within the classroom na. So kanang mura kag lesson plan ani imuhang gi-utilize ang tanang resources aron nga kanang maka-decide ka kung unsay kanang pamaagi sa imong pagtudlo, kung need ba og kanang mga activities, unsay mga activities nga kailangan buhaton sa imong mga students ngana. So aron kanang makita po dito ang flow sa imuhang mga teaching method. So, the next stage is all about development. So, in this stage, the actual learning materials and resources are created. This can include designing, presentations, developing e-learning modules, writing course content, and producing any multimedia elements. So, kani si development mabuhat ra nimo kung nakahuman na ka og analyze og design. So kani siya is kanang mao na gyud ni ang pagbuhat sa imuhang nabutang sa lesson plan. Mao na ni siya kanang paggama nimo og PPT o kanang mga IMs bitaw. So mao na ni ang na belong sa development nga stage. Sunod is si implementation. Implementation is the deployment of the training program to the target audience. So mao na ni si implementation murag kung sa atoa pa kanang mao na ni ang ato ang pag-report sa klase. So same sa teacher, mao na ni ilahang pag-discuss within the classroom setting na. So mao na siya ang pag-report o kanang pag-report, pagkantahay, pag-conduct sa pilot testing, ingon ana ang kanang example sa implementation. Next is evaluation stage. So this is the final stage of adding model. So it involves assessing the effectiveness of the reporting. It includes gathering feedback and evaluating whether the program meets its objectives. So kanisad si evaluation kay it can be broken into two parts, the formative and summative. So kahibaw naman mo kung unsay kanang differences between the two, no? So the initial evaluation actually happens during the development stage. So mao na ni sa evaluation kanang magkuan na ka o kanang maghatag na kag mga assessment aron after hatag kag assessment after sa imong discussion aron makita nimo kung naminaw ba gyud ang mga students or kanang na-meet or maghatag kag activity aron mahibaw-an nimo kung na-meet ba katong mga goals nga ako ang gisulod sa ako ang instructional design. So ingon ana kung angay pa ba nimo nga balikon tong instructional design or unsa pa man ang need nga i-improve or unsa tong mga need nga i-eliminate sa kanang pagtudlo nako. So ingon ana aron mas effective ang pagtudlo. Next is the SAMR model. So the SAMR model is a framework that orders strategies for classroom technology implementation into 4 stages. Substitution and augmentation strategies use EdTech to enhance learning and add value, whereas modification and redefinition stages harness EdTech to transform learning and make new things possible. So kani si SAMR model kanang iyahang goal is kanang murag i-integrate gani si technology in learning. So mao na ang goal ni kanang SAMR model. So atong tagsaon. So in SAMR model stands for substitution. So in substitution, this is the simplest stage where EdTech is used as a direct substitute for traditional practices. So kani si substitution mo ni ang kanang imbes bitaw nga magsuwat ta manumanuhon na to og suwat ang kinadaghanan kayo nga mga information, instead imuha bitaw siyang encode aron mas mapadali kay kanang kuan man imbes nga magtraditional ka mas gi-modernize nimo ang pagpamaagi sa paggama sa mga activity kintahay. So next is the augmentation. So at the augmentation stage, technology adds something to the learning process beyond just convenience. It might give your students a clearer understanding of a complex topic or making it engaging in a way that traditional methods can't. So, kanang examples ni augmentation is kanang gipa-research mo tagsa-tagsa. So, in that way, kanang na-utilize ninyo si EdTech aron makahibaw mo kung unsa tong topic nga gipa-research. So pwede po augmentation kay kanang nag-add gani og mga video ang usa ka maestro aron kanang mas ma-clarify og explain ang isa ka topic kung dili niya kaya. So ingon ana sad si augmentation kanang iyaha bitong kanang gamitan og kanang video na mas mo explain pa gyud sa usa ka certain topic kay kanang aron mas masabtang jud sa iyang mga students. So next is the modification. So in modification stage, technology is used to design interactive and dynamic tasks that go beyond the limitations of a traditional classroom. So kaning example ni modification is kanang kuan naman ni si modification kana i-harness na si edtech. So kaning example ni modification kay instead nga kanang traditional ang way sa imong pag-drawing, you use another applications or kanang technology related nga mga tools nga mas kanang mo buhat sa imong activity or drawing. So for example, di ba to ang itong gipabuhatan ni ma'am kanang sa ICT nato nga imbis atong duwingon ang ato ang design di pa gamata niya sa ICT I mean Adobe Illustrator. So mao to siya ang example ni modification. So next is redefinition. So redefinition is the most sophisticated stage of SAMR. Redefinition sees you using technology to make entirely new learning opportunities possible. So, so example of redefinition is producing documentaries or short films and video conferencing. So mao na siya si SAMR model. So I hope nasabtan sa SAMR model. Next model is backward design. So, in backward design is an approach to creating curriculum subjects and even single class sessions that treats the goal of teaching as not merely covering a certain amount of content, but also facilitating student learning. Backward design prioritizes the intended learning outcomes instead of topics to be covered. So, si backward design from the word or from the name itself nga backward, so pinabali ang way sa iyahang stages or ang kanang sequence sa iyahang stages. So the first stage in the backward design is identify learning goals or identify desired results. So the first step is to clearly define what you want your students to learn or achieve. So kung magama kag kanang instruction or magtudlo kag usa ka topic, kailangan gyud nga kanang ipaila nato kung unsa gyud ang mga goals di ay or unsa ang kailangan nga makatunan sa imong mga students when kanang you are introducing to them the topic nga imuhang i-discuss sa ilaha. So kanang hitahay sa ato ang kanang di ba naaman jud tay practicum, so kanang imuhang goals is kanang you let your students to learn nga maka-bake yun o usa ka kanang cake or usa ka kanang pan baron. So second is determine acceptable evidence. So once you have your learning goals, decide how you will assess whether students have achieved them. Kanang unsaon nimo pag-assess ang students students nga kanang kung na-achieve ba jud sa mga students. Next is kanang determine acceptable evidence. Once you have your learning goals, decide how you will assess whether students have achieved them. So you will assess kung unsa kaha ang nakuha sa mga students. So maybe you can assess them in the form of having assessment or kanang project presentation or kanang or any activity nga maka-bring out sa ilahang ilahang nakatunan within sa imuhang pagtudlo. So diha nimo once nga na-presenta nila, diha nimo makuha kung kanang na-meet ba gyud si goals nga imuhang gi-identify sa first step. So the third step is plan learning experiences and instruction. So with the assessment in mind, design instructional activities that will help students reach the learning goals. So kanang example niya is kanang parehas sa atong learning goals nga akong example sa stage 1 is kanang naatay practicum, so kailangan jud nga palutuon. So magkuan ka kanang magkuha ka og activity nga mo inline pod sa imong learning goals. So ingon ana, so next is the dig and carry model. So they can carry instructional design model, or also known as the system approach model, is one of the former. Despite seemingly complicated diagrams that pop up when searching for an image or see the attached picture, the steps are often only connected as far as what they do to help you figure out what to teach and how to teach it. All 10 steps are connected, and some influence others indirectly, while they may influence others directly. So, stage 1 in Dick and Carey model. So, instructional goals. The first step is to figure out the instructional goals. This means that you are able to, or will be able to, identify what is the students need to learn. So, kaning instructional goals, muna na pud kag-analyze ani sa ilahang kana level of intelligence aron makagama ka og goals gani. So mao na siya. Stage 2 is instructional analysis. Instructional analysis is the second step. This means you are determining the skills that your students will need to learn and what plan to teach them. So ingon ana sad si kuan kanang si instructional analysis. So in this stage, you determine their existing knowledge, ilang skills o kanang unsay mga barriers nga makahadlang sa ilahang pagkat-on. Sunod is stage 3, entry behaviors and learner characteristics. So next, you have to assess which skills the students have out of those that you previously determined are needed for this lesson. Imuhang i-determine kung naabay mga particular students nga wala naka-grasp sa mga butang nga imuha untang gusto nimo nga makatunan nilang tanan. So in this stage, you ensure that the materials and activities are appropriate to your students and that they grasp it fairly. Kanang sila gid ang makaton. Sunod is stage 4. So, performance objectives. So, next, you must figure out specific goals and objectives for the lesson. This is the equivalent of sa SWBAT, or student will be able to. So, kayong performance objectives makita ni nato sa atong lesson plan or bisan sa ato ang mga PPT kanang atong discuss kung kana unsa mga angay nga mga makatunan sa ato ang students. Diba? It consists of psychomotor, kanang psychomotor skills and values. So, mao na siya ang stage 4. Stage 5 is criterion reference test items. So, the fifth thing you must do is to create a test consistent with the performance objectives that will reflect what you're hoping to teach the students. Referring back to notes you have made will help you figure out what to test. They are meant to help the students understand what they have or have not mastered yet. So, mauna siya si criterion reference test items. Stage 6 is instructional strategy. You begin to outline your lesson plans. This means that you will be able to demonstrate what you want them to learn, add activities, and decide how each segment will be done. If you want to have group activities, now is the time to decide when and what materials will be covered by the activity. So, kani si instructional strategy, mauna ni siya ang kanang paggama pagyod sa lesson plan. Diri na nimo i-arrange ang sequence or segments sa flow sa imong lesson plan. Kung naa pa ba kay i-add or naa pa ba kay gusto nga i-improve sa mga activities nga gusto nimong buhaton or na-analyze kanang to the previous nga mga stages or unsa pa na nga gusto nimo. So, mao na sa instructional strategy. Stage 7 is instructional materials. So you make sure you have what you need ready for the lesson. If you have something you already know will work, use it. So kanang kung sa instructional materials, di ba, nagama naman kag instructional strategy or lesson plan. So kani sa instructional materials, mag-decide ka kung unsa ang mga tools or kanang materials nga imuhang yung in-need aron mas makater tong naa sa imuhang lesson plan. So example ana is IMs, PPTs or mga flip chart aron kanang mas understandable ang imuhang pagtudlo. So, stage 8 is formative evaluation. So, in formative evaluation, you will have to evaluate how the lesson went. So, did some students sit back while others did all the work, expecting to ride along for a good grade? So, in formative evaluation, diri ni masod si kana quizzes after the discussion or kana mga activities after discussion nga mahuman na pud ana adlaw. Kay aron matest gid kung naminaw ba gyud ang mga estudyante. So, ingon ana na si formative evaluation. Next is the summative evaluation. Summative evaluation is a critical step that provides a comprehensive assessment of the instructional program's success in achieving its intended learning objectives. It helps teachers make data-driven decisions to improve their teaching materials and methods and ensures that listeners are meeting the desired outcomes. So, in summative evaluation, mao na siya sila midterm, periodical exam, kanang i-cover na ang tanan nga discussions. So, I hope the sabtanda si Dick and Carry model. So, we will proceed on the Assure model. So, Haynes and Molenda created the Assure model in 1999. It is a well-known instructional design guide incorporating multimedia and technology to improve the learning environment from a constructivist perspective. Step in Assure model is analyze learner characteristic. The first step in the process is that the teacher should analyze the attributes on her learners. There should be a focus on those learner characteristics which are associated with the learning outcomes desired. So kani si analyze learners kay parihara po ni sa steps or parihara ni ang explanation ani niya sa analysis ni ADI model, which is to analyze the level of intelligence and skills of your students, ilahang learning styles, ilahang status, ug ilahang edad. So, you analyze the imong audience ba. So, sunod is the state objectives or state standards and objectives. So, in this stage, the teacher must state standards and objectives for the learning module. So, this statement consists of a specification of what learners will be able to do as a result of the instruction. So, in state objective, the teacher should clearly define the learning objectives or goals the that you want or the teacher want for the learner to learn. So kailangan pod nga kaning mga state nga objective is align pod sa content nga imuhang or sa ka teacher itudlo nga gitudlo niya. Sunod is select, modify or design materials. So first, you should figure out which delivery method will be best for your instruction. For instance, what proportion of your instruction will be instructor-centered and what proportion of will be student-centered. The first of these are strategies such as lecture, demonstration, or showing a video. The second are strategies such as group discussion or cooperative group work. So, in select strategies, technology, and materials, maupod ni siya ang pag-design nimo kung sa adi model pa. So, mauna ni siya ang kanang unsa ka ang kanang akong buhaton aron mas ma-engaging ang ako ang pagtudlo sa akong mga students o mga ingon ana. So, Kanang in this stage pod, you choose appropriate teaching methods, instructional media, and materials that will facilitate the achievement of the stated objects. So kani pong kaning mga na ma-select nimo nga mga strategies, technology, media, and materials, kailangan pod kanang gagamit ka ani para mas ma-meet nimo si objectives nga na state nimo sa previous nga stage nga akong giingon, aron makagama ka o kanang ma-meet gyud nimo si objectives. Next is utilize technology, media, and materials. This step is the assure process concerns making a plan as to how you will utilize the technology, media, and materials that you have selected. As with all of the instructional steps, you must make sure that your plans contribute towards producing the objectives that you have laid down. So in utilize materials, in this stage, you integrate your chosen media and materials into the lesson plan. Ensure that they are used effectively to enhance the learning process. So you utilize the technology, media, and materials. Kung unsa tong mga materials nga pwede gamiton, so hala, gamiton siya. So the last one is, not the second to the last, is require learner participation. So this step actually belongs within earlier steps. It requires that you make plans to how you are going to actively engage your students in the material that you are teaching. This needs to be figured out both at the class level and the individual level. So, ingon ana si require learner participation. So, you engage learners actively in the learning process. Kanang imuha kanang mangutana kanila og kanang questions kanang, and not just merely kanang talking in front of them. You are kanang encouraging them to participate, kanang magbuhat ka og mga questions aron ma-test pud kung naminaw ba sila. Ingon ana si require learner response. Sunod is the evaluation. So, evaluation and revise. So, in this step, you evaluate the impact of your teaching on student learning. This includes an evaluation of your teaching strategies and the technologies, media, and materials that you use. Example ng evaluation kay nagama ka tong quiz is in a form, di ba? Quiz is formative assessment. So, nagpa-formative assessment ka unya aron masuta nimo kung ang imong strategies ba is kanang maayo ba siya kay daghang nakatunan ang mga students. Ingon ana i-evaluate pud nimo imong mga materials nga nagamit nga tabang ba jud kaha tong mga materials nga akong nagamit sa pagtudlo or kanang nagpalibog ra to siya. Murag i-evaluate jud nimo og tarong bitaw. So that was the kanang instructional models that I am going to discuss. So before we will, so supposedly I have a short quiz but kanang wala ta na face to face. So dili sa gyud ni nako makuan pud ang quiz. So but however na ako'y assignment which I want all of you to answer. So I am just going to send it in the group chat. So to formally gonna end my discussion, I'm gonna leave you with this saying: it is what we think we know already that often prevents us from learning, by Claude Bernard. So this is my assignment, everyone. God bless and thank you.